Good evening and welcome to the Chrissy B Show. Now, have you ever been in a life-threatening situation that left you on the brink of death? Well, I have some guests with me tonight who are going to be describing their harrowing experiences. Tonight I have with me Malcolm Castle. You've seen him before. He's an ex-firefighter, so he's got a few stories to tell us. And I also have Mairead Armstrong and also Lorraine Alexis, who both went through something really, really terrible, but came out on the other side, and they're going to be telling us their story very soon. So if you have your own story to tell, were you ever in a serious accident or something happened to you and you're on the brink of death, and you'd like to share your story in a few words, because we don't have much time on the show, but in a few words, you can give us a call on 020-7686-6300. You can also email us on chris@chrissybshow.tv. If you were in one, how has it actually changed your outlook on life? Has it changed the way that you think? Or is it something that still affects you and you feel like you can't move on? We'd love to hear your experiences. But first of all, let's speak to Bianca.
Hello, Chris.
Hello, my darling.
How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Good. I'm well,
and have you ever experienced anything like that? Anything?
I was thinking about it today, and I started thinking, what have I ever been in anything like that? No, I haven't. Not at all. No, only like little things, like sort of minor things, like running across the road when you shouldn't really do that, and then like sort of getting close to being sort of clipped by a car, but not.
Yeah. I don't remember anything myself. I know, like, when I was little, apparently we were at the beach and then this big wave came and then my mum lost me in the sea.
Oh, really?
So, like, I was underneath for quite a long time.
Oh my
but I was
gosh.
Okay, but she said that I didn't want her after that. I would just go to my dad for like a week. I didn't want to talk to my mum. And actually, ever since, like, when I was young, I always used to dream of like big tidal waves for years and years and years. But I was never sort of afraid of them, but I can't really remember anything.
So that was probably that was the reason why then, wasn't it?
Possibly. I'm quite fascinated by them, actually.
Why did you blame your mum then? Because
she was holding me and then she let go of me when the wave came and I just went under and she couldn't find me.
Oh, okay.
You know when the waves are all white and everything,
Yeah,
you just can't
yeah.
see anything. So she was panicking and then like my dad came and plucked me out of the water.
So then you went to your dad because he said
I just wanted my dad after that. Mummy was, didn't want mummy after that.
How old were you?
I must have been about 3 or 4.
Oh.
But old enough to realise that my mum was holding me and like, I
don't want you anymore. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I just wouldn't go to her. Yeah, but that was it really.
All right then. Well, touching on the subject of seaside things that happen around the seaside. Well, a young woman was very close to losing her life after almost getting eaten by a 3-metre shark. Trevor Burns was snorkeling with a tour group in Australia when Elise Frankham was attacked by the monster shark. And all the other swimmers in the sea at the time went back to the boat, swam for their lives, but Trevor actually went against the others and grabbed the animal's tail to try and stop the attack.
He tried to grab the shark's tail?
Yeah, tried to grab the shark's tail, so he was really brave, wasn't he? But he just said that like he had to do it as a moment of fear for him, but he couldn't bear to see that this woman was getting attacked by the shark. Trevor said the shark did a double bite and then started thrashing Elise around, and he said it was below him and he just sort of grabbed it. Trevor has been since awarded the nation's second highest honour for bravery. Wow. And Elise says, I think he deserves every single thing that's coming his way and I owe him my life. And I think she does, doesn't she?
We actually are going to do a show about bravery very soon. When is it? Is it next week?
2nd of August.
Yeah, we're going to be having a show about that. And we're going to be seeing like how people react to situations like that. There's some people that would run away and not get involved, especially like when you see sort of things going on outside on the streets and stuff, you want to sort of stay away from the trouble. But then there's others that will just put their life at risk and just jump in there and they don't think about anything, they don't think of themselves and they just want to go and help. So I think it's going to be quite interesting, that show, to see how the public react to different things.
Yeah, and what you think you might do is sometimes the total opposite of what you actually do when you're in that scenario, doesn't it, as well?
That's true.
And around 100 shark attacks are reported worldwide every year, with Australia one of the most dangerous places. But experts might have found this solution. So new wetsuits have been developed by innovators in Australia that stop sharks attacking by making the killer fish think that they are either invisible or repulsive to them. So what they've done is they've tested these suits on live animals to make sure they work first, and the suits follow 2 designs. It's really interesting. One has contrasting stripes. The striped one,
a bit weird, don't they?
Yeah, but if it's going to save your life, then I would wear it. So
they look ridiculous.
Chrissy.
No wonder the sharks don't want to go near me.
What's funny about it is that one of them is the other one, like the bluey sort of one there, it looks like the ocean, so the shark will think that it's water. That's what they think anyway. And then the striped one is repulsive to sharks, so they don't want to eat it. It's not something that attracts a shark. So basically they've done like decades of research about it. And Chris,
can you guys see over there? Can you guys see? I'm just saying. Yeah, well.
And so the other one.
I think if out of the two, I'd go for the stripy one. For
would
myself.
you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You could choose, couldn't you? Because they're both going to obviously repel the shark. So it's been created with decades of research from experts, and I thought it was really interesting how they worked that out, though. Like basically, they were studying how sharks, what they go for, and what they like, and what they like to eat.
Stripy kind of fish and stuff.
Yes, they don't. Yes, they don't go for the stripes so much. So that might be the solution to it as well. And a dog's life was saved this week when a stranger gave it the kiss of life after it had been hit by a car. So Salty, a Jack Russell crossbreed, was... You're just going to laugh at every story I say.
Oh, no.
So he was struck outside his home in Australia again and didn't look like he was going to survive. So the delivery driver, Steve Hunter, saw Hunty and gave the 5-year-old animal mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Steve says he was...
Can you do that on
I
animals?
know. Well, he said he was completely gone, so I just pulled back his jaws and blew into his mouth and did CPR on the side of the road.
I think I'd do that for my cat.
That's what I was going to say, Chris. You would do that for your cat. I was going to say that.
Maybe not a stranger's cat, though.
No. The reason why he said he did it is because he saw that they had a family with the dog. It was a little boy there as well, so he didn't want to upset the child. He knew that was his I
think just the fact that he did that would upset the child, because that must have looked really horrible.
Scarred for life. Yeah, but now that he's alive, he's going to be a lot happier than if he didn't make it. And so they rushed him off to the vet, and the dog actually survived.
Oh, well done.
Yeah, so well done you, Steve Hunter, the delivery driver. That was nice. So
he should get a medal too.
Yeah. That's sweet though, isn't it?
Well done.
And so if this is interesting as well, a 3-year-old mute girl can finally talk, and you're never going to believe how they helped her to talk again, by eating cream cheese every week.
What?
I know. I was so shocked when I read this story. So
she was born like that, or
she was born like that. She suffers from GLUT1 deficiency, which affects her ability to speak. So after eating a kilo of Philadelphia every week for 3 months, she said her first word, "mum," and they were thrilled by it. Can you imagine how happy they are?
How do they know that's down to the cheese?
No, it is. They've studied it, Chris. they've done tests on it. So let me see. So her mum's delighted, Stevie, who's 34 from Leicestershire, and said that they have been times when she thought she would never speak again, and she didn't really believe that something so simple as a diet could make such a big difference. But she said that within weeks of her eating the cheese, she could see that it was working already. She was a lot more active and responsive, as well.
That's lovely though. After so long, imagine being able to hear your child's voice after.
It's lovely, isn't it? Yeah. And she said that the amount of Philadelphia she goes through is mad, but worth it. And she said it's
She's be careful about other health concerns though.
I know they said that as well, but they said that she doesn't put on any weight. She's quite an active child as well, because Philadelphia's got a lot of fat in it, hasn't it? But it's good for her.
Does it work with the light one as well or not?
I'm not too sure. I think it has to be full fat. I think it has to be full fat. And then luckily, she said the mum said that she loves the stuff as well. She piles it on crackers. So imagine if she didn't like it, she had to eat all of that. Bless her, that's so sweet. And meanwhile, in a school in New Zealand, a teacher may be forced to do some detention of her own. We've heard of pupils giving their teacher an apple before class, but this teacher may have misunderstood the tradition. She was caught on CCTV cameras stealing pupils' lunches. I know, Chris, can you believe it? So after pupils complained their food had gone missing, they checked the CCTV and caught the teacher either eating it straight away or putting it in a bag for later and keeping it for when she went home. And she was censored on a charge of serious misconduct as well afterwards, so she was taken to court.
But you know what? For someone to do that, there must be serious problems. Like, I don't think someone would just steal food.
It's unusual.
Because why was it? Is it a female?
Yeah, it's
why
a female
was she stealing
teacher.
money and stuff like that? She was probably really hungry, or something's going on at home. Didn't have food. Sometimes you don't know what people go through and they don't say anything.
Yeah.
Or they're in serious debt and they're trying to pay their debts off, and then if that's all they can find to eat, they will just do it.
It's an odd thing to do.
It's an odd thing for people to do.
Yeah.
So I think there's some underlying issues.
I wonder if she picked out some favourites or that. Steve has jam sandwiches every Tuesday, so I'm going to have that.
Yeah, so I think there's something more to that than I don't think someone will just steal food for no reason.
Do you think she was just hungry or just?
I think so. Why would you risk it? Why would you go to your? You must be desperate to do that.
But don't teachers get free school meals anyway?
No.
They do, don't they?
I don't think so.
Some of them must.
Any
do.
teachers out there that can let us know? No, I'm pretty sure they don't.
Well, my boyfriend's
Maybe
a basketball
subsidised.
coach. He gets free school meals as well.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I think maybe some schools do it, don't they?
Okay.
Maybe not all the
Right.
schools.
Have we got time for one more?
Yes. Okay. Have we got time?
I don't know.
It's me.
Maybe
Yeah.
30 seconds, go on.
So, I've got to read this one.
Okay.
So this one's really interesting. So if you ever wanted to be in the Guinness Book of World Records, well, this time we might be able to, Chris. So 31-year-old Brahim Takula, who's got the world's largest feet, pairs up with the
Feet?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're 8'1" if you wanted to know. And pairs up with the world's smallest woman, who's 2 foot, and they're trying to get a petition together. They're needing 50,000 pairs of feet, and they're trying to make the largest online photo album of feet. So anyone can send in their photo as well. Chris, fancy it?
Oh, yeah, what are you trying to say?
I'm saying anything about your feet. So you can go to officiallyamazing.tv to put your feet up on
okay.
there. So should we do that later on after
Yeah,
the show?
maybe, yeah, we'll give it a go, I
Take some
think.
photos.
I'll have to go to break, Bianca.
All right,
But
then.
thank you so much. Did you have more? You had more, didn't you?
I had one more, but
Oh, we haven't got time for it, but we do have to go to a break now. Thank you so much.
No problem.
And after the break, we're going to be joined by Malcolm Castle, who's going to be telling us some firefighting stories and some things that he's seen too that he's like to share with you guys at home as well. But if you want to give us a call and share your stories, or you can do so on 020 7686 6300. Join us after this.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Chrissy B Show, always aiming to show you the happier side of life. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to the show, and today we're talking about near-death experiences and how it can change someone's outlook on life. And joining me now, I have Malcolm Castle, who was an ex-firefighter, and he's been on before, and he kept us very entertained with his stories, his real-life stories, although some of them were serious, so, you know. But you had some funny ones as well, didn't you? But first of all, tell us about when you first started in the fire service. I'm not letting you speak, am I?
No.
Do speak.
No, you're the boss, certainly. Well, I think with the theme of this program, possibly one of the things that I can contribute is that most people have a near-death experience by accident. You know, they're in a plane that comes down, or they're they fall off a bridge into a flooded river, and that's it's by accident. They don't voluntarily get themselves in those precarious situations.
Unless they're stunt people.
Stunt people, yeah, but they're a breed apart, aren't they? Yeah. The fire service are a rather curious lot because we tend to voluntarily join the job and then voluntarily go into these situations to try and help them out.
Yeah.
So people will, there'll be a house fire, or there'll be a theatre on fire, and people will rush to come out. And then the fire engine will turn up, and the general public will expect, because they pay our wages, for us to go into the job. So we're running into a burning building. Now, when I first joined the job, we had interesting fire kit. I mean, the traditional fire kit of the fireman was a plastic helmet covered in cork with gloss paint. We painted it with gloss paint, so it looked nice.
Right.
But of course, it was flammable. But that was a small point, it looked nice. Then we would have a donkey jacket with metal buttons, which would conduct heat.
Sorry, a flammable helmet.
Yeah, flammable helmet,
Right.
yes.
Okay, that
yes.
makes sense.
Yeah. And then metal buttons, which would conduct heat, and if you had a sweaty hand and touched them, you'd brand yourself.
Burn. Okay.
Then plastic leggings. Plastic thin leggings, which were waterproof, but most definitely not fireproof. And if you go into a burning building and, let's say, kneel down, you can't see anything. You can't see that with a torch. So you don't know what you're kneeling on. And if you kneel on something that's on fire, well, you'll burn yourself.
Gosh.
And then we would have
Wasn't
Wellington
well thought out
boots
back
on.
then, was it?
Not really, no. We would bull our
Things
boots.
are more advanced now.
Yeah, now, I mean, the equipment now is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And we are, but in a way, it's one of the things they taught us at training school was when you go into a burning building, your neck is exposed, and that is your temperature gauge. So if your neck starts to blister, it's getting a bit hot, you better get out. Whereas now we cover ourselves completely. There's not any skin showing. So you tend to go into far hotter buildings. if you go into a bedroom fire where the door's been closed and the heat is built up, at ceiling height, it can be 1,000 degrees centigrade, which is why we don't stand up when we go into buildings like that. We're on the floor crawling in where it's a mere 300 degrees centigrade. Yeah. So I think that's the difference, really. The fire service are called upon to put themselves in to situations. So
you guys put yourself in the situation, but we have other people that accidentally, and I think we actually have a caller on the line that wants to share their story with us. Good evening.
Hey, good evening.
Hello. What's your name?
My name's Peter. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
So did you have a near-death experience then?
Oh, it wasn't my near-death experience. It was a girl I was going out with at the time.
Yeah.
She'd been ill for about a week and a half. She went to the doctors and she was given some medication. And we'd been out for lunch. And I saw a few friends on the way home. So she said, go and hang out with them, etc. But something in my mind said that something wasn't right. So I just said to her, made some excuses and went back. And I found her on the bed, shaking, in and out of consciousness, sort of dribbling from her mouth. So I called the ambulance up quickly. She got taken to hospital and she was allergic to the medication that they'd given her.
Oh, gosh.
And they said if she hadn't got there within the hour, she probably would have died.
Oh, my gosh.
So being in the ambulance and seeing the ride, it was a bit crazy seeing someone...
So were you there? Did you see everything? Did you actually see everything happening?
Yeah, I saw it all happening. During the days before, I saw it getting worse and worse, but you just think, oh, maybe it's a flu, or maybe she's run down, but as it went on, she was just getting weaker and weaker, and you can see in her eyes and in her skin.
How did that affect you?
It's strange, because at the time when it was all going on, like, it was almost like you don't panic at first. Like, when I saw her, I was panicking. But then you sort of switched into sort of like fix-it mode, if that makes sense. So, but then when she was in the hospital for the couple of days, it sort of hit us on the second day, that it all happened.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because up to that point, it was just all about getting her to hospital, letting her family know.
How is she now?
She's fine. Yeah, she's good, fine. Yeah? She just had to be on a drip for a couple of days and get the medication out of her system. She was allergic to I can't remember what was in it. Whatever was in the tablet, she was allergic to, and they didn't do a check on her.
Has it changed her in any way? Did you see?
Only in the way that she's more careful with what medicine she takes, and she went and got all the the jabs. What tells you what you're allergic to? She went and got those jabs done. But yeah, it was scary. It was scary, and then it was sort of afterwards just makes you really, and it makes you cautious about what you put in your body as well.
It does.
So I try not to put anything in my body. Medicines and all those different things.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much for sharing your story.
No problem.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You too. Bye. So if you'd like to share your stories, do give us a call on 020-7686-6300.
That raises a very good point that the caller was saying that when he was called upon to do something, he found that he could.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that they can't do anything. What would I do if this happened? They hear about it in second hand, and they think, oh, well, I wouldn't have known what to do in that situation. What could I do? I wouldn't know. I wouldn't.
It's like something else kicks in, doesn't it?
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it is. And the biggest thing, and if I can sort of say one thing tonight, the biggest thing is opening the airway. People think, oh, I don't know what to do. Someone's collapsed on the floor. If they're not breathing, then they're going to die. So if the airway is opened, that's as much as you need to do often.
Do you need to put them in the recovery position?
The recovery position is the next stage and all the rest of it. But people think, I don't know what to do. But just doing that one simple thing can help. And
can you show our viewers?
Well, it's just a matter of
just literally
lifting
tilting
the head back in whatever position they're in.
Yeah.
That will work. Ideally, the recovery position where you're lying on your front, slightly to one side by pulling one leg up, and then your head over to one side and lift it up.
We weren't planning to do a first aid course today, sorry guys, but just while we brought it up.
But it's very useful.
Yeah,
it is, because people think, I wouldn't know what to do. Just doing that, and you can save someone's life.
Wow.
And it's phenomenal, really. This first aid thing.
Open the airway.
Open the airway. Open that camera.
Yes. Okay, so what about people maybe that you've saved? Some people that you've saved, obviously you've come across a lot of people that nearly died. Some died, some nearly died. How was it? How was that experience for you?
Do you know, when you're in the fire service, you come across an awful lot of situations where people are very close to dying. Car accidents is a classic example.
Yeah.
But house fires where someone's in there, you manage to find them, and they're still alive, the thing to do now is to get them out as quickly as possible. That's our main aim, to get them to fresh air. And then once we've got them out, we can try and bring them round. Now, normally, the ambulance service will be there, and they'll have paramedics who are far better trained than us to give them oxygen, to give them injections, to bring them round. But sometimes, in the bigger fires, there's just simply not enough paramedics to go round. And then we have to use our comparatively limited first aid to help. And I have been fortunate enough in the 32 years that I was in the fire service to save a couple of people, which is in no small thing. It's a wonderful thing to do, that you know that if it wasn't for you that particular moment, they wouldn't be here. That's quite a special feeling. Yeah. I know there's people, certainly in the bigger brigades, that are far busier than we were in Shropshire, who would have done that quite regularly, and maybe they get almost blasé. Oh yes, yes. 2 or 3 this week. But I feel myself quite blessed that I managed to do that. Yeah. And it is a wonderful feeling. And when they do come round, after the shock has worn off, that you know how close they came, it's really rather nice just to be thanked, and people just to say thank you, just simple thank you, and you think, well, that makes it all worthwhile. It makes it worth it, doesn't it? Quite something. Yeah, it is.
Oh, that's so nice. Sorry, you just remind me, I know it's got nothing to do with the topic, but I just remember watching something about the London bus drivers. I don't know why I'm remembering this, but I just thought you said about saying thank you. Some of them were saying, if only people would just say, they love it, for example, when people say to them, thank you, driver. Just that you said it makes their day. Yeah. Because imagine they get so much stick from people, and then people are really rude to them sometimes. All right, some bus drivers are rude to people too. But, you know, but they just that little word, they really appreciate it. But it just reminded me. Yeah. What you said, yeah.
But we have had people that will sort of bring us gifts afterwards. Yeah. You know, we've rescued them from a car accident, they've gone to hospital, they've recovered, and then they'll come back and bring us a gift. And it's just the gesture of the gift. It doesn't matter what the gift is, even if it's just a simple card, and if it's a child, a card that they've made themselves. Yeah. So special. And you think, you know, that child wouldn't be here.
So they've been thinking about you and what you've done and everything. So that's really sweet. It is.
It makes it very worthwhile. That's a wonderful part of the job, really.
It's lovely. So Malcolm, we're going to have on 2 guests after the break, and each one has their own story about what happened to them, how very close to death they were, and how they've managed to come out on the other side as well. So I'm very interested to hear their stories as well. And if you'd like, again, if you'd like to share your story, we may not have much time, but sorry, we can try to squeeze it in. You can call us on 020 7686 6300. So join us after this break to hear their amazing stories.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Chrissy B Show, always aiming to show you the happier side of life. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back, and now we're going to speak to Mairead Armstrong, who went through a terrible accident, but she's come out on the other side and she's here to talk about her experience. Hello, thank you so much for coming to the show.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Yeah, I wanted to share what happened with everybody, because it was a bit of a life-changing thing for me. I was out in the country in Surrey with a boyfriend quite a few years ago, and although he was confident riding motorbikes, he'd borrowed a Harley Davidson from a friend, and this is a huge bike. It was a Fat Boy, so they're very, very heavy, and if they fall over, which it did once, you need several people to pick it up.
Really? Gosh.
And I just remember that we were going up a country lane, and of course these bikes are really built for the American straight roads.
So the first time he was on it?
Yeah, it was the first time.
Showing off a little bit, maybe?
A little bit. He was trying to be careful, but I think he went slightly, it was a little bit too big for him, but he was doing really well, except for the point where he said we were going in the wrong direction, and with that kind of bike you have to do like a 3-point turn, you can't just turn it, and he went to stop. He drove up to this gravelled area, And in my mind, I thought, I hope he's not going to try and stop here and turn it, because the bike is going to slide under the gravel, which is exactly what happened. But it was only a few seconds before, so it was just strange watching it.
You didn't even have a chance to sort of say
no,
to him, look,
no. It was almost like I was thinking he won't do this, and he did. And I was on the back, and because on a Harley you're raised up, I was thrown, I was thrown off the bike and to about a few feet to one side. I landed on my back and on the base of my spine. And I remember trying to get up and I couldn't feel anything at all. And then at that point, I just had this sense that I was thrown out of my body and I was looking down, and I just felt very light. I couldn't feel anything. There'd been a car that was behind us and they stopped. And I remember that I was sort of out there and I was going unconscious, and somebody was like slapping me on the face, and I kind of was coming round and they were saying...
Slapping you on the face?
Well, they were kind of waking me up.
How come you're supposed to do that? Slap you right
It's not in the first aid book.
It's not in the... So they weren't trying to open your airway, they were slapping you.
Well, actually, that part was a bit comical, because they were saying, we've been watching Casualty and we've watched all the programmes, we know what to do, don't let her go unconscious. And so that's why they were doing that. So it was just a weird thing, and I could not feel anything at that stage. I was a bit in shock.
So there was no pain,
There was no pain
nothing.
at all, nothing, just a numbness.
Gosh.
And then obviously the ambulance came shortly afterwards, really quickly actually, considering we were quite out rurally. And they were brilliant. The paramedics were absolutely fantastic. They thought I might have a broken neck, so they put a plastic neck brace on, and then they had a stretcher that kind of clips into place.
Yeah.
And then the pain did really, really kick in after that. I was rushed to Bromley
So where
Hospital.
where was the pain?
I had a fracture, yeah, the whole of the spine. But mainly the base of the spine, and I was in Bromley Hospital then when the pain started really kind of kicking in. Gosh. And I had a fracture in the base of the spine, but there was a lot of shock, and I think the shock, it was so fast, and it was this feeling of being almost thrown out of my body, and it was just a really strange experience. And the effect it had on me, it was quite life-changing, because actually my career, my whole life direction changed after that, because I became a therapist. So I ended up working with people, and ended up working as a healer and a therapist, a massage therapist as well, and doing rehabilitation with people that had injuries. And so
would you say it was because of the accident, or did you already have an interest in it before?
I think I had an interest in it before, but I certainly wouldn't have worked in that field. And I think the effect it had on me that day, it was just... You could go in an instant. It just takes a second. And I think it gave me a real sense of being in the now and doing something like worthwhile, I guess. In my life, it just made me
How
wake
long
up.
were you in hospital for?
Not long at all. The rehabilitation was actually quite quick. It wasn't bad. I had some scarring, so I had a bit of nerve damage on the skin, but it wasn't a serious spinal injury. It was a fracture, but I recovered quite well. I think part of that was though that I used to run a lot, and I was a big swimmer, and I'd been a gymnast. So I was at that time I was really, really supple, very fit. So I think that really helped me.
And what happened to your boyfriend? Was he hurt as well in the accident?
No, he wasn't. He was fine. He was really supportive, and yeah, it was lovely. It was really good around
but
it.
You're not
and no,
was
this
it
was a while
because of
ago.
what happened? Or?
No.
Sorry to ask. Actually, I'm just asking the questions that the viewers at home are thinking. So if you don't want me to ask, you just tell me if you don't want to
I didn't
answer.
go back out on a motorbike, ride with him again. Let's put it that way. But I have been on a motorbike since. It was a mistake that he made. It wasn't anything wrong with the vehicle. So, and I think it was also the generosity and the care of the strangers, of the two people that were in the car that witnessed it. They were absolutely amazing. They were just there the whole time. They were so caring, so calm. They knew what to do. They tried to really. They were filled the gap before the paramedics came, and I'm really grateful to them. Yeah.
Malcolm, do you see that a lot with the public sort of trying to lend a hand and like just rallying around and helping?
Well, yes and no is the answer, because we see people who do get in there, and that show you were talking about earlier on in a few weeks, when people actually sort of get in there and do something.
Yeah.
We do have people that do that, and when we arrive, they quite gratefully hand over to us, all the paramedics or the ambulance. But you also have the other type that we went to a car accident once where it was a 6-car pile-up, and the road was blocked. The cars were streaming in great row both ways, and people had just got out because it was a nice day. They got out to look,
Oh.
And none of them were helping at all.
Oh, gosh.
None of them at all. They were just standing by, just looking at what was going on. And the bizarre thing is they're craning their necks to get a good look as to what's going on. And as soon as they see something horrible, they look away. And then they come back and have a look at it. This morbid curiosity people have. So they do fall into two categories, and you're very lucky that people...
But what can people do, though? Because
yeah,
sometimes, I don't know, I can imagine some people like, maybe I shouldn't go because I might make the situation worse. What can people do if they are sort of in the vicinity of an accident and stuff? Obviously, if there's first aiders...
Call the emergency services first. That is absolutely essential. And then the airway, as I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
And try not to move people. People think, oh, we must move them. But with your situation, if you had a broken back, keeping them in the position you end up in is often better because the body will assume the most comfortable position it can.
But I naturally went into that position where I just laid on my back and I knew that I couldn't move. Yeah. I just was facing upward and I could feel something not right with the neck, but actually there wasn't the injury there, but I could feel it there. So I think we automatically you've probably seen that yourself.
You do. The body goes into the most comfortable position it can, to get away from as much of the pain as it can. And what people do is they'll say, oh, well, we must get them on their back, or we must get them in the recovery position. You think, well, no, if they're breathing, leave them.
You don't need to,
just look after them, be with them. Company is the main thing at the time.
Which is what helped you, wasn't it?
Them giving you support, so you don't feel alone in this. This is terrible shock.
Amazing, really
it's helped. Shock is a terrible thing, both physically and mentally. And if you've got people with you holding your hand, euphemistically or literally, then it can help enormously.
That's true. How do you look at life now, Mairead?
Well, I think in one way there's probably more trust. I think there's a lot more around intuition, trusting my own intuition, because I kind of had a feeling just before it happened that not that it was going to happen, but I could sort of see that it was
the danger beforehand.
I sensed it, absolutely sensed it, and it was almost as though it was in slow motion, but I could see what was going to happen. So I think it is trusting your intuition, and I think, but obviously just living in the moment and just letting I don't know, grudges and just things maybe go and try to be a bit more kind of detached and philosophical about things.
Yeah.
You know?
Because I think it definitely does make you, because in your case, for example, you're blessed, you survived. So, but there's people that obviously they have accidents and they don't, and then there's family members that are there wishing, I wish I'd been nicer to them, I wish I'd told them I loved them. You go through all those things, and it's a horrible thing to go through. That guilt that a person feels because they didn't let bygones be bygones. They didn't approach the person and try and speak to them and try and, mend the relationship. And people go through a lifetime of guilt that way. Or I should have done more, I should have visited more. It's a horrible thing to go through. But I think when things like that happens and someone survives, that's kind of wakes everyone up. And it's like, okay, you know what, now I'm going to do things differently. Now I'm going to treat my family differently. I'm going to spending time with your family. Sometimes people are like, working so much, and then something like this happens or someone gets sick, and then they realise, oh, I need to spend more time with them. I need to make the most of the time that we have together. Yeah. And that's such an important thing.
I agree. And I ended up working with people after that, very shortly after that. So that it had a knock-on effect of wanting to be with people, wanting to help them in some way on a therapy level. So it was directly came out of that. Yeah. So that was just my journey, I guess. But it was getting more empathy and understanding, maybe. Yeah.
Do you relive those moments, or would you say that you've passed that now?
I've passed that now, I think. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah. That's all. Really good to hear. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And after the break as well, we're going to be hearing another story. So do join us after this.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Chrissy B Show, always aiming to show you the happier side of life. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to the show. And now joining me, I have Lorraine Alexis and daughter Nisha.
Hi.
Hello, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So your story is a bit different. It wasn't an accident that you had, but something just as serious in another sense. So can you tell us what happened to you?
Well, basically, I was in the hospital 3 weeks prior with my asthma. I wasn't a serious asthma sufferer. I just had asthma, and I didn't really have to carry a nail around with me and things like that.
So no inhaler, just
you know, it just took me sometimes.
Yeah.
So I wasn't a serious sufferer. Anyway, so basically what happened is it was a Sunday, and a relative came to the house to do something for me. She was supposed to come the day before, but thank God she came the day afterwards. And I found myself really struggling to breathe and everything, and then it was just getting worse. Couldn't do anything. I was just getting breathless. And then I was telling her to call for help because I knew something serious was happening. It just took me just like that.
Out of the blue, you weren't doing anything strenuous?
No. But I hadn't been well still, though.
Yeah.
You know, from when I was in hospital 3 weeks. So basically, what happened then is that she says, yeah, I've called for the ambulance. So I knew the ambulance was on the way, but I was going, you know, I was drifting kind of thing. My breathing was going worse and worse and worse. And like I could hardly talk and everything. And then she was trying to keep me going, stand up, come on, walk around. That's all Shadi kept saying to me, you know, you got to walk around, you know, and everything. Because she wanted me to, if I were walking around or moving around, it was better than me lying there, because then I'm just going to get worse and worse. And she didn't want that to happen to me, because she knew a little bits of things. So basically then the ambulance came. When the ambulance came now, they was trying to sedate me and everything.
Do you remember what was going through your mind at the time when you
I didn't know what was
able
happening to me.
To breathe? Because
it was horrible. I was so frightened. I was so frightened. Not being able to breathe is not a nice experience. It's not a nice. I mean, to be honest, I still cry about it. I still cry about it because of the experience I went through.
How long ago was it?
It's 4 years now.
4 years, and you still think about it.
Because it was not a nice experience. And then what happened then, the ambulance people got there. They took me in the ambulance and they were trying to stabilise me. I don't like injections. I hate injections. But I wanted them injections. I desperately wanted them injections. Anything,
you're desperate,
you know, anything to just get out of what I was. And I couldn't really talk to the ambulance people. And I remember saying to the ambulance people something about my kids. They must tell my kids something, because I knew I was going.
Anisha, you were with your mum at the time, weren't you? What describe what happened from your point of view, from what you were seeing.
I was talking to you, wasn't I?
Yeah.
And I was asking if you was okay, and it was like you was gasping for air and all that.
Yeah.
How were you feeling at the time when you saw that your mum, seeing your mum in that state?
How long ago was that?
Should how was you feeling?
Yeah, I know, but how long ago?
4 years ago.
Can't really remember it, but I was like a bit upset and everything, because I didn't know what was going on because I was so young.
Did you try to help in some way? Like, did you?
I think I was just in shock, really. Yeah.
It's hard, I think, for a child to see their mum in that state. I think it possibly, I don't know, Malcolm, maybe like they would freeze because they don't know what to do. It's their mum, they don't know what, you know. I think it's different when emotions are kind of linked sometimes. So but were you in the ambulance with your mum?
No, I stayed with my cousin.
You stayed, okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then what happened after that?
There was trying to stabilise me in the ambulance and everything, and giving me injections and everything. And like I remember saying to him, I'm dying, I know I'm dying, you know, when I could still talk. I wasn't talking properly, but like what I could get out, I was saying I'm dying, I know I'm dying. I know we were dying, you know, and then I just remember putting my hands like that and I just begging him to help me because I couldn't talk no more. So my only thing what I could do was signs. And the man was trying to comfort me. The ambulance people was brilliant. They was absolutely brilliant, and like Shadi as well. If it weren't for Shadi being there, I might not even be sitting here now, most probably, you know. So, and then I was taken to hospital, and I don't remember the journey in the ambulance to the hospital. I don't remember that. It's black. It's not there at all, and I don't remember getting to the hospital. I just remember someone shouting, "Lorraine, Lorraine, Lorraine. We've got to take the piercing out what I had here." And then basically also let's take the piercing out, and they had to ventilate. I had to be ventilated, and then I was put on ventilation and in intensive care. And
how long were you there for?
I was in intensive care for 2 days.
2 days?
Yeah, but I was ventilated from the day before to the next day.
Is it still affecting you? Like, you say you cry still about
yeah,
it? What other ways is it affecting
I've put a
you?
lot of weight on. I'm not as big as this because of the drugs and everything. I put a lot of weight on. So it's affected me like with the weight and everything. And obviously the weight then crushes your lungs because you got more weight like on your lungs and everything, which doesn't help, you know, so it affects me that way. And then it affects me in day-to-day things, doing housework, things like that as well. You know, so it affects me, and then it affects me in this respect, you know, just not being able to do the things what I want to do. Your mind says yes, and your body says no. But then I look at it, I'm a quite positive person, and it's either beat it or it'll beat you.
Yeah.
The illness will either take you down or you rise above the illness. And I'm a kind of person, you know, I will rise above. It might take me down at times, but I'll come back up.
Just by coming on the show and speaking about it, on a live TV show, by the way, and it's not an easy thing to do, because, you know, it's scary sometimes coming on live TV. Just the fact that you've come here to speak about it shows the kind of person you are, that you are positive, that you are, you know, fighting things, and you want, you know, to improve your life and to change your life. Which I think is great.
I teach positive thinking, you know, and I do poetry, I write poetry, and I write lyrics for people as well, you know. So like, I'm a like very inspiring person. Yeah. I like to inspire people. So obviously, I'm driven by myself, you know, to be able to do that.
And
so
you're a survivor too.
Yeah, I'm definitely a survivor.
You're a survivor because you're here to tell your story. And you fought it. And I even know there were people around you and everything during that time, but you had to fight it, which you did. But and the fact that you've got through it is great.
But what the thing is though, like I said from the beginning, I wasn't a serious asthma sufferer. So for all people out there who do suffer with asthma, don't take it lightly. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. What I mean is that, you know, you never know what's going to happen. Always carry your inhaler. Yeah. Because you never know.
Don't take chances,
look what happened to me. Yeah. And I wasn't in and out of hospital or anything like that, only 3 weeks previous. Yeah. You know, so like, carry your inhalers.
Definitely. Lorraine, thank you so much for sharing your story as well. Thank you. Well, we have run out of time. The time does run. Thank you all for sharing your stories. Malcolm, you will be joining us again on future shows, I expect. We'll have, definitely for the bravery show, I think you need to come on. Really? Because you've been a bit brave in your time, haven't you?
Occasionally.
Yeah, occasionally.
Coming on this was one of them.
Just running into burning buildings and, you know, putting your life at risk every day. But thank you so much, everyone. And like I said, you know, you have to value life because we don't know. We could be here today and you could drop dead tomorrow. There's people that just drop dead. They just don't even have an accident. Nothing was going on, but something happens to them, or it could be an accident. So we have to really value what we have and value our life. And especially, as I keep drumming in, and I'm going to keep saying it on the show, don't fret about silly things, little arguments that you've had with people and things that are going on in your family. Try and get on with everyone. Get your family together, let bygones be bygones, as I always say, because you don't know what tomorrow holds, and value every single day that you have because it is definitely a gift. So thanks so much for watching. And on Monday, we're going to be speaking to some very successful business guests who started with very little, but have something very great today. So I do hope you enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye for now and have a great one. You got us lost for 2 hours in London.
That's not my fault.
It's your fault. You're supposed to be navigator. You take calls when we're crucial moments.
Yay, we made it!
Gosh, I can't believe it. The tent's moving, the tent's moving. No, that's what these are for. The handy spare ones from Starbucks. Ketchup from McDonald's. It's not a risotto, you don't have to keep stirring it, you should let it cook.
It's like soup.
Stop stirring it!
We should go on MasterChef, should we? We should start a cooking show.
Stop stirring, let it cook! Okay, stop stirring. Just obsessed with stirring. Stop stirring! Whites from KFC. Oh, it's a bit, oh no, oh, there's insects under there.
What is that?
We get a plate for the eggs.
I knew I was going to do that.
I put that on the barbecue by mistake.
Yeah, I can taste sand, like sandy dirt.